Hello beautiful lovely gamers, my name is Jonal. Welcome to this episode of Mailbox. Mondays here is where I take your ideas, your requests, your questions, and I try to answer them in a timely manner. As always, if you want to submit your own question, our Discord server is linked down below. There's an own chat room called Mailbox Monday, and you can submit your question, idea, whatever it is, and I will try to answer them in an upcoming episode. Of course, Mailbox Monday might be a little bit scuffed due to vacations, and I'm traveling, to my family in Denmark and celebrating Christmas and the holiday there, so it might be a little bit off over the Christmas. But again, as always, I try to always catch up and answer as many questions as possible that has previously been asked. So join the Discord community down below. As always, if you want to hire me as a private coach, there's a special Christmas offer. It's 20% off, so 40 euros for a 2-hour session. Doesn't matter if you're bronze or for 100. Join the Discord server, send me a DM, and we will set up something to help you rank up, improve, and get better at the game. A like on the video helps again YouTube's abuse algorithm. And with no further ado, let's begin. So the question of the day comes from Tsunaru, whatever it's called. That guy, and he says, don't you think Genji is an outclassed hero due to the amount of counters he have now? I'm a Genji one trick and it's frustrating to play. Love you, Jonal. Love you too, man. And to a certain extent yes, to a certain extent no. Over the a lot of the counters that has been talked about a lot now is heroes that has been in Overwatch for a while. Stuff like Zarya, which a lot of people are struggling with, as Zarya and Reinhardt has been played more and more in Elos. Reaper, Mei, heroes like this, like Genji can't really assassinate and has problem dealing with. Of course, Baptiste, a brand new hero, and Moira is not new for sakes, but by the time she was introduced, Genji was already falling off a little bit. But there are still heroes that are from the old school core that was introduced now. So it's not really as much about the amount of counters that it has, because there's almost been a lot of direct counters or indirect counters. The problem is the amount of healing and the amount of shields and so on that we're playing a game of Overwatch where either CC or high damage is kind of prioritized. It's people like Reaper and Hanzo, Doomfist, right? These heroes that have incredible, high amounts of damage are prioritized above people like Genji that has way lower damage, only 20 damage with a shuriken, very reliant on his stash to really get anything done. And Dragon Blades, again, has a lot of counters. A lot of people have learned how to play against Genji over the years since he's been a stable in a lot of ranked games. So in the same time, it's a little bit to do with that. I think that Genji kind of hits that area where if you're really good at Genji, right, you get some of these games where no other hero could bring that carry potential to your ranked games, right? And if you're a Genji man or you played Genji a lot, people know what I'm talking about, where you're just absolutely dominating, and you could be playing Reaper or Hanzo and you would not be able to play the same amount of carry. If you're playing a game really well and the stars kind of align, you're just absolutely dominating carry hard, and that's the satisfying part. The issue is that in your average game and in the majority of your games, the big issue kind of ends up with that you could pick someone else like Hanzo, for example, or Reaper, and they could do the job by average, in your average games, better and easier. It will be easier to carry. You have to put so much effort in to be really good at Genji and really so on, while you could be mediocre at Reaper and you could be ranking up faster, or at least getting some easier games or having some more easier team fights. Doesn't require as much. That's the problem with Genji right now. That's also why I want them to give him a 2 damage increase. So from 20 to 30 damage. I made an entire video that will link down in the comment section explaining and going over the mathematics and the stats of why a damage increase of 2 per shuriken will hopefully do a lot for Genji. Now, Hole asks, any tips for studying for your exam? If you're studying for exams and so on, I would recommend you to sit down and do exams. If you have previous exams and so on, do that. Do previous tasks you're working on. So if you actually want a tip to studying to exam, one of the really good tips is really just to work with the subject, depending of course on what you're studying. But that's what I like to do, just working with the subject. Reading books and so on can be fine and is nice, but working with tasks that are exam relevant, such as previous exams and so on, like that's already been taken, or test exams, or a previous, you know, mandatory like assignments and stuff like that. Going over those and going over the subjects, that is a lot of time, at least in university, what will be given to you on your exam. And if you know that, then that gives you kind of a way to prepare yourself for seeing and being effective in the way that you solve some of the assignments that will be given to you on the exam. So just like in overwatch, practical practice, not just theoretical practice, is the way to go, in my opinion, when you want to study and, you know, really perform during the exam. Seagore asks, do you think that Dive will ever be meta again, or Soldier 76? Really, if you... Dive is a thing that is still played from time to time, and we have seen Dive, not really in the high tier competitive levels, but Dive is played in solo queue. Again, as I say, in solo queue, most stuff can be played. Soldier 76 can be played in solo queue if you're good enough with him. He does bring a very specific playstyle to it that no other hero really brings. I'm even making a video on how to carry with Soldier 76, so subscribe with bell notification for whenever that comes out. Dive, right now, unless they do some dramatic changes, I think that if Dive was ever going to be meta, they will have to make some new heroes that can be played, where the mobility of the team is far more greater than the tankiness of the team. Again, right now we're in an area where high damage and high sustain, like just big numbers, are important, compared to mobility and positioning and playability. Is not as much prioritized, which was what it was in Dive. What was really prioritized was this positioning and this space control. So yes, potentially, I think that they will ever be meta, as in pro play meta. Might be, I think so, that might be an option. We do now see stuff like Orvisa Ball and so on, see more introduction with hamment. But will it ever be the same that it was back when Dive was king and you played Genji Tracer Dive and you were playing high grounds and just dropping on people with the Winston D.Va? I don't think so. I think that they will need introductions of new heroes and new balance changes for this ever to be meta again, in my personal opinion. Quantumfunk Physics asks the last question. Do you think it's true that it's very difficult to climb as a support without stacking or doing? Both yes and no. I know a lot of support players that are really good in this ranking. Of course, I private coach a lot of higher tier support players. So again, I think that the mistake that a lot of people are doing when they're playing support is that they are really playing, you know, heal bots or heal slaves, putting themselves out of position to, you know, dying and so on. Only thinking about, you know, healing, not thinking about how they can impact the match with aggressive Ana nades. That, you know, not focusing on the accuracy of the Zenyatta and landing kills, discarding the right targets, not being harassing and irritating Azuzu, just like healing and not really speed boosting, and not, you know, pushing people around them, actually being disruptive and dealing a lot of damage, not playing aggressive enough on Moira, not damage boosting enough on Mercy. Understanding that support, just like everything else in ranked, is a impact role. You need to have impact on the match so that you are carrying. I think that's the biggest thing. So no, not really, but as I've also said, if you're playing with somebody that is really good, and I'm making a video on how to make a good duo partner, on when to stack and when not to stack in ranked, but when you're playing with somebody that has the same potential as you, right? So you're platinum and you're playing with a friend that, just like you, isn't in diamond but has the potential of hitting diamond, and you guys are, you know, communicating and so on, that can just make the game more enjoyable, and in theory can make some of the stuff easier. But I see a lot of mistakes when support players do, that they're essentially duo queuing with somebody that can carry them. And that's not the way to go, because then as soon as he leaves your duo queue, you will immediately start dropping SR really hard. So again, focus on, again, just like tanks and support and DPSs, impact on the match, being aggressive, getting kills, striking up for the enemy team is really important, while still being able to support and heal your own team. That's all the questions for today. Again, like on the video helps again YouTube's algorithm. Tell me down below any of your opinions on some of these questions so we can have a discussion. Join the Discord community. Again, private coaching, €40 for a 2-hour session, as long as you order before the 19th of December. After that, it's back up to normal price. But besides that, guys, please take care of yourself. Have happy holidays. I love you guys very much. As always, guys, my name has been Jonal. You guys take care of yourself, stay positive, and as always, keep the enemy in your crosshair.